UFO Planet.
So what exactly is a UFO? An unidentified flying object, commonly called a UFO, is any aerial phenomenon that cannot immediately be identified or explained. Most UFOs are identified on investigation as conventional objects or phenomena. The term is widely used for claimed observations of extraterrestrial spacecraft. The term UFO, or UFOB, was coined in 1953 by the United States Air Force to serve as a catch-all for all such reports. In its initial investigation, the United States Air Force stated that a UFOB was any airborne object which, by performance, aerodynamic characteristics, or unusual features, does not conform to any presently known aircraft or missile type, or which cannot be positively identified as a familiar object. Accordingly, the term was initially restricted to that fraction of cases which remained unidentified after investigations, as the United States Air Force was interested in potential national security and technical aspects. During the late 1940s and through the 1950s, UFOs were often referred to popularly as flying saucers or flying discs. The term UFO became more widespread during the 1950s, at first in technical literature, but later in popular use. UFOs garnered considerable interest during the Cold War, an era associated with the heightened concern for national security, and more recently in the 2010s for unexplained reasons. Interest in UFOs saw a significant increase in the past month after a bill was passed in the United States of America that will pave the way for the Pentagon and other agencies in the United States to divulge any information they have on the topic within 180 days of December 27th, 2020. The shooter of a UFO video from Commerce Township, Michigan, USA, can't believe there's not more chatter about a pair of UFOs he and many others spotted back on August 11, 2020. The shooter had been inside his home when the neighbor called asking if he had seen the UFOs. The neighbors were having dinner at a nearby patio diner and reported everyone was talking about them.
They were over they moved this way?
The shooter described the event like this. They were two bright stars, like spots in the skies. Almost like the sky had a bad pixel, if that makes sense, because it was brighter than anything in sight, but the light was focused with no haze. The object spent a couple of hours north of the location where the video was shot, not moving at all. Then they disappeared and reappeared further southwest than the original location, but still northwest in relation to where the video was taken. According to the shooter, lots of boaters and kayakers watched it. The shooter met with his neighbor, who was into star watching, and he confirmed there were no planets or stars in that location. It was strange because they were up there for hours, looked like the brightest stars ever. Nothing changed. It became old news after a while, just fixtures in the sky. The shooter went on to say that he thought the objects were visible far too long to be something battery-powered, like a consumer drone. The observers did some research to see if anyone else had seen the objects and had posted them online. They were unable to locate any other reports from the event, leaving them wondering what they had witnessed in the skies over Commerce Township. The video you are watching shows 6 aircraft flying over Long Branch, New Jersey, USA. But that's not what this story is about. It's about what you can't see. Here's how the shooter described his experience. I walked outside and felt like an invisible bat was dive-bombing me. I was trying to stand still to feel it, but I was ducking and flinching as it flew past. 1/1000th of my consciousness was seeing it. I was not wearing a shirt. I felt it on my face and chest. It filled every pore of my skin without touching me as it zoomed past. A couple times it flew directly across my eyes, and I felt it on my eyeballs. I saw it, kinda. I saw 6 little planes that were only suspicious because of the moment and started recording them. I'm holding my phone about 6 inches from my face, and this thing shoots between my face and my phone. Yup. The camera goes out of focus as it passes because I flinched. My eyes were focused on my phone. That time, I actually saw it. I went inside and was so tired I could hardly make it to my bed. Not only did it fly past, it completely stopped. Not an experience you hear about every day. The object was pretty fast, so we really can't tell what it is in the stop images there. Whatever it was profound to the shooter in this case.
UFO Planet.
This past week, a video of 3 UFOs flying over the moon captured the attention of thousands on social media. The video seems to clearly show 3 objects passing over the moon. Some believe it is space junk, others think it's something like a satellite in low Earth orbit, while others think they are shape-shifting angels. Social media user Samara Carpenter Ponzo commented saying, "Angels, it's all angels, some good, some fallen. Read the Bible. They are shapeshifters and appear to humans as whatever humans at the moment might be comfy with. The fallen nines will deceive us in lots of ways." Funny how no one has come up with the idea that the fallen one ain't deceiving us right now by appearing as UFOs or aliens. It's all the same. Another user, Kelly Bell, says, "I'm so excited more people are seeing what I've been called crazy for decades." When investigating UFOs, experts say the evidence has to speak for itself. That does not always happen, especially on social media, where imaginary facts tend to dominate the discussion.
UFO Planet.
Hunters in the state of Oklahoma may have a Bigfoot hunt in their future if lawmakers in that state have their way. A state lawmaker there has introduced a bill to establish a hunting season for Bigfoot, a mythical creature that has eluded human contact for centuries, if they even exist at all. State Republican lawmaker Justin Humphrey submitted the bill on January 27th in the hope that it will usher in a Bigfoot hunting season come November 1st. The government bill states, "The commission shall set annual season dates and create any necessary specific hunting licenses and fees." Oklahoma rates 9th in the USA for the most reported Bigfoot sightings. Washington state rates number 1, followed by Oregon, West Virginia, Idaho, and Montana. A spokesperson for the Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation says, "It is a real bill, and here at the department we use science to make management decisions. We do not recognize Bigfoot as a wildlife species in Oklahoma." Oklahoma State Representative Justin Humphrey, who introduced the bill, says, "Tourism is one of the biggest attractions we have in my House district. Establishing an actual hunting season and issuing licenses for people who want to hunt Bigfoot will just draw more crowds to our already beautiful part of the state. If they find Bigfoot while they're at it, well, hey, that's just an even bigger prize. The state will issue a license and a tag, but they would be considered souvenirs." However, Humphrey claims to be working to establish a $25,000 bounty payable to the first person to bag Bigfoot. Bigfoot hunters around the USA have spoken out about the planned hunt, condemning it. They believe it will lessen the chances of making contact and potentially making the already elusive creature even more elusive. So far, no one has ever proven Bigfoot exists, although many have tried. It is highly unlikely. The only thing that was standing in their way was obtaining a hunting license to make it legal.
UFO Planet.
Someone in Sonora, Mexico came across something very interesting on Google Earth that does not belong. The object is in the shape of a bee and appears to be gold in color. One side of the bee appears to be illuminated more than the other side, which indicates the sun reflecting off the object. The person who spotted this object claims they have many similar objects that they have found on Google Earth. As a precaution, he always takes a screenshot, and when he returns to the same area later, the objects have been removed from Google Earth's graphics. It will be interesting to see what the experts think about this one. Is this a craft of unknown origin or a reflection in the glass that covers the camera? Let's hope the experts know the answer.
UFO planet.
From Stampede City to UFO City, that pretty much describes the events here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Students were heading home from school when they first noticed bright lights in the sky, first observed from the school parking lot. After walking for a couple of kilometers, they looked up and noticed the lights were still there. One of the observers said they could see clouds passing behind the objects at one point, a strong indication they were not looking at stars. Although it is nearly impossible to see in the video, the lights were described as multicolored. Eventually the lights seemed to move and get dimmer.
See the difference? That is not a plane. Look, it's different colors. Dude, the funny thing is...
Do you like bright star?
The funny thing is there's so many stars in the universe. One of these has to be it.
Did it just get dimmer?
Alpha Centauri.
Yeah.
Is it getting dim?
Oh yeah, it's getting dim. It's moving.
Dim!
Dude, it just moved down.
Is it going down? Or did it split up? Or
Where did the Earth just move? I don't know. Hey, Bo. See that star?
The observer reported that they did not believe the objects to be aircraft and were hoping experts might be able to explain what they were looking at over the city of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. A small family in Moscow, Russia was amazed when they saw something they were unable to explain, hovering close to their neighborhood. You can hear them discussing what they think it is, if you happen to speak Russian.
Что это такое?
Где?
Ну вон он. Вот где флаг? Смотри направо. Прикинь, да? Слушай, что это самолет, что ли?
Да нет.
Бля. Вот круто. Маринка, иди посмотри!
We asked 3 experts to chime in on this sighting. All 3 say they believe the object is man-made. In fact, one described it as a blow-up UFO tethered to the ground in an effort to draw consumers to a local business. However, social media armchair experts overwhelmingly disagree, and many believe this is an actual alien ship. Jim Walters in Ohio says this is the best example of an alien ship on the entire internet. Andrea Dawson in Idaho says she can see windows on the ship, and this proves we are looking at an alien craft. We tried, but were unable to edit the video to focus on windows like Andrea mentioned. However, we did see something crazy flying over Moscow we can't explain. I guess this is one we'll have to leave to the experts to decide.
UFO planet.
And I'm homing in on the orange object, and I'm focusing in on it, and then all of a sudden I start noticing 2 small little, very faint little blips next to it at about the 5 o'clock level. If you were looking at a clock, the face of a clock, about 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seems to be moving. At first I think it's a triangle that I'm seeing, but it morphs as it goes because of the position of the objects that we're looking at. Now it's gone to 3 at this point that are tagging along with whatever the big thing is, which is orange.
Yeah, there's one much larger object there that you're seeing, and large or smaller objects that seem to be almost either coming out of it or circling around it, going in behind it. What do you think that looks like to you?
I'm thinking they're escorting it. Beforehand, before I started filming, I was seeing some flashing lights like military jets. near it, but none of these are flashing at these points. And I don't know what's going on here. We've got, we're coming up to a telephone pole. It goes behind the telephone pole, and there it comes out, and now the one in the rear drops. This is not a flare. This is one of the military.
Yeah, you can clearly see that dropping.
Yes, it absolutely drops. I've been asked, is that a flare? No, that's one of the objects that was with it. And now it's going, basically to the east, which is, by the way, the direction that the ISS was going also.
Okay, but that's in a different part of the sky right now.
Oh, it's gone at this point. The ISS is no longer in the sky or visible.
Okay.
But now it's basically doing a circle around again, and this would be going off towards the Myrtle Beach area.
Giving him final honor, a respect or something like that. That's why they bury that. Because if you see that being, he was or she was very much like 2 legs and 2 arms,
yes.
And it was like 4 or 5 inches long. That's it. But it was very much like human. If you see the face, it's very much like gray alien.
It is. In the video, I do a zoom up, and I'm not sure if you're aware, Esam, but I'm just going to mention this to you as well. There was actually one of these aliens that was also found in Russia. And I have footage of that as well. And the alien, you saw the media. What do you think to someone's comments like that?
First thing I want to tell you, they found that alien alive. And then it was dead after a few moments. And like any dead body of human being, if you feel, it's like jelly. The body is very much like jelly. And if you see that alien body is also very much like jelly. Mm-hmm. I was seeing a few days back, if you see the movie Cyrus, in that movie, the alien they have found, they are saying this alien being laying on the earth like hundreds of years or tens of thousands of years, I don't know. But it was very much stiff because the body spent quite a long time.
It was pretty much dried out and mummified, basically,
yes.
in the desert sun.
Yes, the alien they found in Pakistan is the body is very fresh. The time they made the movie or came into the media, it was just died few hours back.
That's interesting. So, I would have given anything to be there to see that, and hopefully, if it ever happens again, they will have you to come to the rescue there for them, and tell them of the importance of their find. The shooter in this story had been playing video games on his laptop computer when his brother went to the window and yelled, "Hey bro, there's a UFO in the sky." Well, that certainly got his attention, and the shooter took out his phone and captured video of 5 distant balls of light in a V formation. He reports the objects seemed to be hovering above the ocean. There was a loud aircraft noise at the time the video was captured, but the shooter thinks it was a commercial airliner flying overhead.
We are in Boston right now. They were in notice these strange lights in the sky. You usually see quite a lot since it's an airport, but planes, I don't know. There's usually helicopters flying over there, but never like that. And just a few minutes ago, they were in a perfect V formation. I don't know.
The shooter from this event is a British student in the USA to get a degree. Over the past 4 years, he has seen many aircraft and helicopters pass overhead, but they never look like the objects he captured on film. He does admit the objects appeared to be flickering. The shooter says that the sighting did not make him afraid or concerned for his safety, but instead he was very intrigued by everything. By the time the sighting was over, everyone involved had convinced themselves the objects were something that belonged to the local Logan Airport. After watching for 5 to 10 minutes, they lost interest and went back inside. I guess they still had enough interest to submit the story. Lucky for us.
UFO Planet.
Observers often confuse everyday objects as unidentified flying objects. It is commonplace in the UFO community, and it's not always easy to convince people of the true reality. The top 7 objects confused with UFOs are: number 7, lightning. Number 6 is missile tests. Number 5 is cloud formations. Number 4 is balloons. Number 3 is the planet of Venus. Number 2 is aircraft. And number 1 is military. As an example, a UFO was spotted over Bratislava in Slovakia, where an observer captured some great footage of an object flying high above the city. Unfortunately, the object appears to be nothing more than a stray balloon. Although the video is spectacular, it has nothing to do with aliens or unidentified flying objects unless copious amounts of imagination are applied. Effective investigations focus on actual evidence, not imaginary facts designed to fit the video. So how often does this happen, where balloons are mistaken for unidentified flying objects? According to a media study, it happens a lot more than the UFO community would care to admit. Of 4,647 UFO sightings submitted to MUFON and NUFORC, experts say about 15% were nothing more than balloons. Sightings have generally dropped in recent years, even as UFO investigators say they're seeing an increasing number of people reporting easily identifiable objects, from blurry bugs to airplanes, from bright planets to Starlink satellites. Cell phone wielding observers have become increasingly confused by what's in the night sky. Steve Hutchins, International Director of Investigations at the Mutual UFO Network, says, "You wouldn't believe some of the photographs people send us. People who don't know what they're looking at will send us a picture that they think is the Holy Grail, and it's simply an airplane." The object in this story went viral on a Vail, Colorado Facebook buy-sell group. Several locals had posted about seeing a silver disc going slowly across the sky. Many posted photos of the object. That prompted the shooter of this video to jump into his vehicle and speed to the location with an infrared camera. It took him 25 minutes to arrive on scene, and he was still able to capture some great footage of an unknown object.
Alright, well, drove all the way from Silverthorne to capture this thing. It was just over Silverthorne a couple hours ago. I heard about it on our local website, and I drove 90 miles per hour all the way to Vail, and here we go. There it is. People were saying it's a weather balloon, but no. I don't think weather balloons can go that fast within an hour. Then now it's just sitting there, completely still.
After shooting footage, he realized how lucky it was that he broke the speed limit to get to the location, because he captured the very last 2 minutes of the object before it disappeared behind the clouds. The observer said there had been UFOs on the news from nearby Breckenridge, and they were very similar. He also believes it's his mission to expose what's going on. He didn't actually say what's going on, he just said that it's his mission to expose it. This isn't the first time the observer had witnessed a UFO. His first experience was on the night of his 13th birthday. On that occasion, he and friends were yard camping in Hamburg, Michigan, when they observed a UFO that rotated colors between red and green. His next experience was when he was 22, but he didn't want to elaborate because he said that experience left him horrified.
UFO Planet.
More video has surfaced from an amazing UFO sighting in Peru. The event happened originally on February 10th, 2015, during filming of a popular television program. A television crew was on top of a building recording their program when an unidentified object appeared in the sky not far from where they were. Some of the people who witnessed this event included Congressman Renzo Regiardo, journalist Valia Barak Pastor, and television producer Eduardo Chavez Guerra. 2 days later, additional footage was captured by another observer from a terrace at his workplace. Unfortunately, it was captured with a much lower quality camera than the original footage. However, the second video was captured from a much closer vantage point than the TV crew's footage. All witnesses involved say they are unable to identify the object they described as saucer-shaped and dark in color. They did not report any tether lines attached to the object, nor did they hear any specific sounds associated with the sighting. The submitter claims the object remained static in the sky for over 2 hours while crews recorded and documented the sighting. 2 separate drivers on Route 16 in Dover, New Hampshire, captured the same UFO event on camera just over an hour apart from each other. The first sighting took place around 8:45 a.m. as the driver was heading southbound on Route 16, approaching the toll booths. The driver had taken out a cell phone to record an accident scene on the freeway when he noticed something in the sky. He described the object as looking like a black telephone pole. He reports that he was moving around 10 miles per hour when the object passed overhead, traveling at an estimated 30 miles per hour. A second driver noticed the same object at 9:52 a.m. after the toll booths on Route 16 between exits 6 and 7. He described the object as a black line with slightly curved edges. He says the object did not move like a normal aircraft, moved very slowly, and sometimes came to a complete stop. The second observer thought it might be one of those long balloons clowns twist into animals, but then he realized the object was far too large to be a balloon. He reports that the object slowly transitioned to a reddish-orange color and then back to black. The object sometimes changed orientation from horizontal to vertical, and the observer figured this ruled out the possibility of being a drone. Neither witness reported the object made any noise, as both were driving at the time of the sighting and just happened to notice the UFO. It's not often more than one observer records the same object, but this is a great example of when it does happen. So, are we looking at ET? Well, the jury's still out on that one.
UFO Planet.
While driving down Interstate 63 in Monroe, Ohio, an observer noticed a big rectangular object in the sky. At first, he thought it was a sign being flown above a building, but as he neared the highway, he realized the object was moving across the sky. Next, he wondered if it was a sign being pulled by an airplane, but there were no aircraft in the sky near the rectangle. The object was moving in a straight line at a steady pace, was seamless, and had no flapping edges or moving parts. The observer took a short video so he could ask someone else what they thought it was, and had shared it with experts around the planet in an attempt to identify the object. Eventually, the observer had to turn because the stoplight changed to green, and then he lost sight of the object. He says no one he has shared the video with knows what it is, and it also left the UFO Planet team of experts scratching their heads too. The most plausible explanation would be a banner ad pulled by a small airplane, except there is no evidence of a cable, and the shooter says he specifically looked for aircraft, and there were none. A quick scan of the UFO Planet database of more than 10,000 UFO sightings showed no other similar sightings in the past 12 years. The observer in this event from Sevierville, Tennessee, USA, had taken these photos some time ago and forgot he had them on a cell phone until recently. According to the observer, the event took place shortly after his mother had passed away on August 12, 2015. He was standing on his porch looking southeast when he saw this oddly shaped, stationary object and observed it for a few minutes while preparing to leave to run errands. Several minutes later, the observer reports the object was still there and wondered if it might be a drone. During the event, he never heard any sound, nor did he see the object move. Because the object was stationary, it reduces the chance of this sighting being a balloon. Experts continue to examine the footage in an attempt to decipher what the observer had been looking at, and so far have not been able to come up with a solid conclusion in their investigation. The lights in this story were recorded in Vero Beach, Florida, approximately 60 miles south of the Cape Canaveral launch site. The submitter says that his wife Kathy saw some strange lights that appeared to be hovering over the open waters of the Atlantic Ocean just off the coast near their home. She quickly grabbed her HD video camera to document the event.
We stand in Indian River County asking the ancient astronaut theorists, what in the bloody heck is this over the ocean? Only time will tell.
According to the husband, his wife watched the lights for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then they disappeared shortly after the camera was turned off. They reported seeing military helicopters near the scene several times going up and down the beach area the day before the sightings, the day of, and then the following day. Normally, they see very few helicopters in the area except occasionally behind their house, traveling the coastline. They are rare, particularly 3 days in a row. The observer really has no idea if the helicopter traffic was related to the appearance of the lights, saying that they thought both events were odd and could be connected.
UFO Planet.
We have more strange lights in the sky, but this time from Graz, Austria. On an October evening around 5 p.m., the observer was drawn outside to gaze into the sky and was immediately greeted by 2 bright lights. The submitter reports that on close observation, you will notice the lights navigate towards each other and sort of meet up, if you will. It almost looks like a spiritual meet and greet where they become familiar with each other and then fly away in formation and disappear. You might not be shocked to learn that the observer of these lights believed he was looking at something spiritual in nature and not UFOs or aliens, more like fallen angels. In Abrahamic religion, fallen angels are angels who were expelled from heaven. The literal term fallen angel appears neither in the Bible nor in the Abrahamic scriptures, but is used to describe angels who were cast out of heaven or angels who sinned. Such angels often tempt humans to sin. If they are fallen angels, they are pretty quiet because the observer says they made no noise as they carried out their sky dance. Not all think they are fallen angels either. Some believe they are heavenly angels, watching over mankind on behalf of a God figure. If nothing else, they are pretty cool-looking lights just about all of us would like to see from our backyard.
UFO Planet.
This story comes to us from the windy city of Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. The Observer wanted to share this story with viewers as an example of how things are not always as they appear, especially at night. A few nights ago, after watching an episode of UFO Planet, the Observer decided to take his camera gear outside and try his luck at capturing ET on film, so he would be rich and famous. He set up his gear and then meditated, inviting UFOs to make themselves known. Almost like magic, not long after he finished meditating, he caught a glimpse of the strange lights that looked like they were heading right for him. He found himself all excited and began having visions of what he was going to buy with all his money once he sold the footage to the mainstream media. Right at that moment, his dreams were dashed when he realized it was just a WestJet propeller-driven commercial aircraft coming in to land at the Lethbridge airport. He admits the lights really had him going there for a minute and thought it would be good to share how easy it is to misidentify an object, especially at night. The observer in this story thought he was looking at an aircraft coming in to land at a nearby airport in Norwalk, Iowa. That is, until he noticed the light was stationary as it grew larger and brighter. Then he wondered if maybe it was the moon poking through the clouds, but it was in the wrong place in the sky to be the moon at that time of the day. He says the object was almost due east from where he was, and that he was purely baffled.
Shit ain't right. I know what I saw. This is not right.
Close up, it appeared to turn yellow-orange with what might be a heat signature. He said it made no noise, as he was far enough away that he could have heard anything. He grabbed his cell phone and recorded a short video before the light vanished, as if someone had turned off a light switch. After it was gone, he found himself walking in and out of the house, looking up, while trying to wrap his head around what he had witnessed, and he knows for sure it wasn't Venus. According to the observer, many people have seen the video and no one has an answer, not even the doctor who lives next door to him. At the end of the day, the observer remains bewildered. A story out of Santiago, Chile left many wondering what was going on in the skies of that city. A group of people witnessed what were described as worm lights. You can hear the excitement in their voices as they discuss the possibilities.
Sí, lo son. Lo son. Lo son. Hace tiempo no veía. Hace tiempo no veía. Concha tu madre.
Aplica lo que te enseñé.
¿Qué? Toma, hazlo tú.
No.
Hazlo tú.
No, no necesariamente son ovnis.
No, sí son. Sí son, tienen muchas luces.
Porque para allá no está el ¿cómo se llama esta weá?
A no ser que eso sea una...
El estadio no está para allá, pues weón.
No, a no ser
Mira,
que eso...
The entire video was over 4 minutes long and may have provided a clue as to what the observers were watching. Later in the video, they switched to another view showing several lights seemingly following the same flight pattern. All 5 of our UFO Planet volunteer experts, who review most of the videos prior to the show, agree the second video clearly shows aircraft coming in to land in an airport.
No sé qué, es imposible, bueno. Yo estoy segura que eso no es. Aparte que no se dejan grabar como los aviones.
Vengan para acá. Vengan, pues cabros.
Son bonitos.
Sí, son bacanos.
Lo bonito que es como el espectáculo aéreo que tienen.
Son caletas.
Because the videos were recorded at the same event, on the same evening, minutes apart, our experts believe there is a real possibility the lights were part of an air show or some other celebration using aircraft performing light shows in the night sky. Now, not everyone will agree with our experts, and we are interested to hear what they have to say about this UFO report. Could this be an alien signal flying over Hilltop Park in Signal Hill, California? The group that shot this video described it as 3 UFOs flying in an intriguing, unexplainable formation. This group meets on a regular basis in Hilltop Park to record anomalies in the sky.
Pero digo, como viene con la historia. ¿Hace cuántos años nosotros que veníamos en el freeway? ¿Y cuánta gente se paró? ¿Ah, sí? ¿Nos pasó?
Sí.
¿En dónde? ¿En dónde?
¿A quién pasó? Aquí en el 134 y el 5.
No, aquí en el... Ajá.
¿Vivimos en Benay, ¿verdad, Toño?
Sí, empezó una tormenta, pero bien oscura. Ajá. Y una
The group believes it's possible to meditate and telepathically invite UFOs to fly over the park and permit themselves to be recorded and documented. They report that over the years they have seen many anomalous sightings that cannot be easily explained by our conventional crafts or earthly objects. Members of the Hilltop Park group believe if people around the world started doing this and showing people sightings firsthand, the whole world would soon become believers. Although that may be easier said than done because many critics say they are recording balloons, and some think that the balloon UFOs are being released by them too. Smoke and mirrors or unidentified flying objects.
UFO Planet.
The observer who submitted this story from Kandahar, Afghanistan, appears to struggle with the English language, leaving us wondering if maybe English isn't their first language. As an example, they described the object captured on film as, and I quote, hypersonic flying object with aerodynamical features that cannot exist with actual physics fluid laws. We really have no idea what that means, but it sure sounds important. The observer went on to speculate that the object uses magnetism as its method of propulsion, saying there was no sound, even though it was flying at many times the speed of sound, well, at least according to the shooter. After saying the object made no sound, the observer contradicted himself, saying sound reverberation was captured by the camera through a thick windshield where the camera was attached. A reverberation or reverb is created when a sound or signal is reflected, causing numerous reflections to build up and then decay as the sound is absorbed by the surfaces of the objects in the space. They could include furniture, people, and even air. The observer's explanation didn't end there. He went on to explain, and once again I quote, digital hue definition camera captured a video that human eyes were unable to capture by itself. So was the human eye unable to see the object, or did they just not notice it as it passed in front of the camera at a high rate of speed? We asked the UFO Planet experts to chime in on this one. They thought that the object looked like an eagle, flying with its wings spread, and so we decided to compare. Here is the object in Kandahar with an eagle in flight next to it. Do you follow our experts in thinking that this is just a bird, or do you think something more sinister is going on in Afghanistan, where the Americans have been waging war for more than 18 years? Let us know what you think in the comments.
UFO Planet.
Have you ever wondered if time machines exist? The submitter of this story claims the object captured in a photo may be just that. The photo you are looking at was taken from a moving vehicle in La Habra, California on February 15th. The observer thought they were looking at an alien spacecraft, but someone online told them it looks a lot like a time machine, and well, we all know how social media investigations go. Whomever has the best imagination wins, right? The experts on the UFO Planet team were not so easily convinced. There is a general consensus that the photo captured a reflection from the instrument panel inside the car. However, the photo's not really clear enough to say for sure. Whenever someone notices something in a photo that they never noticed while taking the photo, it should immediately draw suspicion and warrant further detailed examination by qualified experts. Sadly, that is not the norm in the social media UFO community. In most cases, investigations rely more on imaginations than science. In recent years, UFO investigators have noticed a huge increase in the number of UFO submissions of easily identifiable objects, and blame it on the desire for people to get shares and likes on their social media posts, all the while damaging the reputation of qualified investigators and turning the study of UFOs into a comedy. Our next story takes us south of Luke Air Force Base in the Litchfield Park, Arizona area. The observer was driving southbound around 72 kilometers per hour when he noticed a stationary object in the sky to his right. He instantly took out his cell phone to record the event. According to the observer, this was not a flight from the Luke Air Force Base, as Luke Radar Approach Control was closed at the time the video was recorded. We were only able to find one light in the video, but the observer says there were more. He says the lights appeared not to be connected to each other, but separate individual lights. A buddy of the shooter was driving a few cars ahead of the observer when the footage was captured. Once he was done recording, he called his buddy to ask if he had seen the object. He said no, as he had not been looking for it. Around that time, the observer's car went down a hill and their view was blocked by buildings and trees. Once they emerged from the valley, the object had disappeared from view and was no longer visible in the sky. What's the first thing that goes through your mind when someone claims to have witnessed a boomerang UFO 2 football fields in size? Exactly. We thought so too, especially when the sighting took place in a populated area and the only proof supplied is an artist's rendition of the craft. One would think that in this day and age where everyone has a camera in their pocket, at least one person would have captured the UFO on film. Well, we aren't that lucky, it appears. But let's check out the story and see what the alleged observer had to say. Here is the explanation according to the observer who witnessed a huge UFO near Long Beach, California. While doing my exercise in my backyard, I paused to look at the sky for Orion's belt and other stars. I then look northeast and see a boomerang-shaped craft about the size of 2 football fields side by side. I thought it was too wide to be a military plane, and those make a ton of noise. I could not see the fuselage nor red or blue lights at the wingtips. The lights, they remained constant. The outline towards the back was dim even before going off in the distance. The craft's speed was consistent. It did not speed up, nor did it slow down. And that's what the observer had to say. Well, any chance weed is legal in California now? I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. I think this sighting would be absolutely fascinating, to say the least. However, if a picture is worth 1,000 words and there are 30 pictures in every second of video, imagine how awesome a few seconds of video would have been. Keep those cameras handy, and put the weed down.
UFO Planet.
Well, that sure didn't take long. We already have the first UFO photo from NASA's Perseverance Mars rover that landed on the red planet just recently on February 18th. Someone thinks they have spotted something unusual in the very first image beamed back to the Earth by the new rover. This is what the submitter had to say about the photo. To the left of center of the photo, in the skyline, is a speck. Now, it's very small, but I'm having a hard time explaining it. I've never seen specks of dust or debris show up in the skyline in any other photos sent back from the rovers. Even the pictures of dust devils don't show any bits as pronounced as this speck. Thought it might be worth looking at. Well, it's always good to look and do some investigation, but you need to look pretty hard to find the speck that the submitter is referring to in this photo. Even on a 65-inch monitor, the speck is difficult to find. We're not going to hazard a guess as to what we are looking at, except to remind viewers that the rover had just landed in a cloud of Mars dust before this photo was snapped. There is a strong possibility that the speck is nothing more than dust that ended up on the lens during the landing. The speck is so small, not much larger than 1 or 2 pixels, that there is not enough information to make an educated guess. And we have to remember that sometimes people try way too hard to make UFOs out of absolutely nothing. Our final story today comes from Tarzana, California. The observer was driving to get dinner, made a left turn onto Ventura Boulevard from Reseda, and happened to look up because there was an obvious glowing object with beautiful colors, unlike anything she had ever seen.
It's like that. My video is not picking it up. There is a freaking UFO in Reseda.
The observer says she knew right away it was unusual, and after looking at it, knew it had to be a UFO. She described it as a cube-shaped object, solid in nature, moving very slowly to the southeast. It had a beautiful bright light that surrounded the whole craft and was constantly changing colors. The colors faded into each other. The sighting left the woman completely in awe and very excited. Unfortunately, the left turn onto Ventura meant the observer was now moving away from the object, and she decided it would not be a good idea to sit in the middle of the intersection to record more video. All we have is 14 seconds of raw footage to come to a conclusion. Any ideas? We'd love to hear from you.
UFO Planet.
Our first story comes from Tempe, Arizona. On February 12th, some dude decided to gaze out the kitchen window and happened to notice some strange lights in the night sky. He says he always looks into the night sky in the general direction of what he filmed. This time, it was different.
So I'm out here recording some kind of lights in the sky. You can see them over there, they're distant, not making any sound. I don't know what that is. Look at that. Look at those lights. Sit right here. I think one just disappeared. I don't know. It's 1, 2, 3. It's 4 lights. 4 of them.
The observer says he has never seen anything like this, especially in that part of the sky. At one point, an airplane traveling east went in the general direction of the objects. The UFO did not seem affected by the aircraft nearby. The observer recorded 2 clips because he thought the event had ended, but more objects returned. The cell phone camera did not do the objects justice, as the shooter reports that they had a reddish-orange color. On camera, they tend to appear as white lights. Uncertain as to what he was looking at, the observer has submitted the footage to experts who will attempt to examine and explain the footage. We begin with a group of people from Metairie, Louisiana that happened to share a UFO experience together. There were around 30 objects that flew nearby. You can tell from their conversation they believe they are looking at UFOs. According to the observers, there was no sound coming from the objects, ruling out jets.
What the f*** is that?
I don't know. I don't hear any sound from jets or anything.
At all. Look, UFOs.
What are those? There's like 30 of them.
They keep coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is the real deal.
This is the real deal. You heard the observer. This must have been an amazing experience for them, eh? Thinking they're looking at UFOs, the real deal. However, a bit later, the conversation takes a turn when they discuss another possibility.
Those aren't Japanese lanterns, are they?
Are they?
No, because they're all going the same. Could they be?
I have no idea. It's a Japanese lantern.
That's when you have the lantern and you it's like a little paper balloon and you put the wick in it and it lifts it up and then...
Maybe it is.
Yeah, I know.
No, they're not making any noise at all. That's weird. There was like a bunch of them, man.
Lanterns or UFOs, either way, it had to have been an interesting time in the neighborhood. Mr. Rogers would be proud.
Yeah,
February 20th was a gorgeous evening in Pinole, California, right around sunset, when an observer noticed some lights that appeared out of place. He says he's not sure what these lights were, and he's never seen them before. The bright lights were captured both in video and in still photos. Comparing the two, you can see that the lights were not in the same place. The observer says he watches the sunset every night and has never once seen the bright lights in that area prior to when he captured this footage. According to the observer, the lights lasted just a few minutes and then faded out slowly while staying in place. If the lights had been lanterns, they would have not remained in place. I guess we have to admit there's definitely something strange going on in Pinole, California. It's hard to explain that bright light on the side of the hill, especially when the guy says that that's not something that normally happens. But I guess this one we have to leave for the unexplained files. This story will make you question what's going on, if nothing else does. The video was recorded last November in Webster Springs, West Virginia, in the United States. The Observer reported the incident 32 days later. A woman had been sitting in her car waiting for her husband to come out of a friend's house when the sighting took place. She caught a glimpse of a bright light coming off the side of a nearby mountain. That's when she noticed a saucer-shaped craft rise up from the light in a smoky cloud. The UFO went quite a distance into the air and hovered, all the while spinning. At that point, the Observer took out her camera and began snapping photos and recording video. The object moved slightly side to side, but mainly hovered and spun for over 15 minutes, at which time it disappeared so quickly that the Observer couldn't even tell which way it went. We asked our volunteer research team to take a look. They reported that it looks like a rocket with flames shooting out of the engine. But why would someone launch a rocket from the side of a mountain in Webster Springs, West Virginia? That's a good question, isn't it? The Observer says that there have been several strange events and sightings in the area of the mountain, but this is the first time that they have been able to capture evidence on film. The citizens of Alberta, Canada were treated to a celestial display on February 22nd when a meteorite lit up the early morning sky in the province from Lethbridge in the south to Edmonton in central Alberta. Chris Hurd, a meteorite expert and professor at the University of Alberta, said the flash was indeed a meteor and urged people to report their sightings to the American Meteor Society. Melanie Babineau, a resident of Cochrane, Alberta, said this view of the meteor was captured on her Nest camera at 6:23 a.m. on Monday. Several people contacted UFO Planet to share their story about the event. According to the emails, the meteorite turned night into day for a few split seconds. So far, there have been no reports of damage or injuries as a result. Scientists are now hunting for fragments of the meteorite so they can study it. Next up is a shape-shifting UFO captured on film over Spain. The object was high in the sky and difficult to see with the naked eye. The Observer used an HD camera with a 10 times optical zoom set to maximum to capture the footage. Because the footage was captured at a great distance, unfortunately, the video is not that stable. The Observer said it kept changing its shape and its size, at one point looking like a shirt, and also at another point looking like some kind of an animal. He does not think the object is a balloon or a piece of trash, and I quote, "This is not a flying piece of trash or rubbish. Objects like that cannot go so far into the sky and keep on ascending even further, especially as there was hardly any wind in the air, and it was an extremely pleasant hot day. Although it's not all that uncommon to see trash blowing around in strong winds, it's not all that normal to see it spinning overhead. A scientific study has shown that trash captured in strong winds is helping contribute to the ocean plastic problem. The question here is, are we looking at a balloon, trash, or a bona fide UFO? The Observer, who captured this video in Las Vegas, Nevada, was shocked to see a UFO in the daylight. He thought they only came out at night to avoid being seen. He had just arrived home from work and he was taking his dog out to the backyard for a doggy rest break. He was facing south at the time, around 4:25 p.m., and to his 3 o'clock was a boomerang-shaped craft, a pewter black color with an aura around it.
I can't believe I'm seeing this. You have to see this strange object in the air. Oh my God. It's just moving around in circles like it's observing things. I can't get any further, but it's like a V-shaped object. I can't. There we go, see?
The Observer says the object was hovering in one place, then rotated clockwise, moved up and down, before disappearing. He thought he was going crazy, so he recorded it on his cell phone. That way he would have proof when he shared the experience with others.
Oh my God. If that's what I think it is, I'm right here in my backyard. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm south, near the South Point. I can't explain what I'm seeing.
The observer says he watched the video 1,000,000 times to make sure he's not losing his mind. Probably a good idea. He then showed the footage to his wife, and she was shocked too. No doubt about it, this object has a boomerang shape, but it doesn't really appear to be in controlled flight as it tumbles and rolls.
There we go, see?